Hey, today I'm talking about 3 films featuring the French actress Adèle Haenel. And the names of those 3 films are Love at First Fight, Heat Wave, and Orphan. The first up is Love at First Fight. This is a 2014 film, and the basic premise is this young man recently went through a big trauma and now he doesn't know what to do with his life. But luckily he stumbles across this young woman who's attractive, and maybe she provides some answers for the direction. And it's pretty good. It's a fairly standard love story, though they do go into some interesting directions. Adele's character is quirky, but in like the polar opposite way of Zooey Deschanel, which was really fascinating. She's like an end of times type of person, which is fun. If you want to hear someone from 2014 say the word coronavirus, look no further. I literally rewound it because I was like, no. I do know that the word existed prior to 2020, but it was just like so jarring. For a hot second though, I thought this movie was like pro-military propaganda. It's not though. Or if it is, it's really weird propaganda. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I like the chemistry between the 2 main characters, which is a big thing for me. I like love stories a lot in general. Like even cliched ones, I'm still a fan of, as long as like the chemistry between the 2 leads is there and like I feel that romance. I'm good. That's really all I need. And this movie has it. They got chemistry between them. It's a good, solid little movie. I wasn't blown away by it, but it was still an interesting time that I'll recommend if you like kind of different styles of love stories. It's worth checking out. I really like the main guy too. He was pretty good. And Adele is always great, so yeah. Next up is Heat Wave. This is a 2011 sort of anthology film. It's basically, there are 4 characters all on basically their own story, but they do overlap with each other. So it's a young woman played by Adele who works at a grocery store and she's having a bad day. She's having kind of relationship-y issues. Her mom is off to do something secretive and she's lying about it. Her boyfriend is having some dad problems and also some issues with her. And then there's also a neighbor who's a customer who is just kind of doing old man stuff. Now I found all 4 of the stories interesting and by themselves were a good enough experience. Where I think this movie kind of falters is it feels like it should all tie together, at least thematically, and I really don't see how they do. Because technically they do come together at the end, but it doesn't feel like it's meaningful. It feels sort of random. Like they do set it up, but it doesn't feel like the natural conclusion to the events of the day, if that makes sense. So like it's fine, and I'm glad I watched it. It just, I don't know, I almost feel like the writer knew what they wanted the end of the story to be and then kind of wrote to that moment rather than telling the story a bit more organically. So it was fine. I would still again recommend it, but a little more cautiously. Like I don't have any like specific warnings. It's like it's good, it's just not gonna like change your life or anything. It's like if you want a decent little movie, this is a decent little movie. And lastly is Orphan. This is a 2017 film, and the basic premise is Adele plays this teacher, but one day this woman gets out of prison and tracks her down and is like, hey, stuff about our past, it's a secret. And that throws her whole life into chaos. And then the whole rest of the film is basically flashback seeing the teacher character at different points in her life. Now, it's a little confusing because they do not make it clear that that is what's happening. It is what's happening. What makes it confusing is that at each different point in her life, she is played by a different actor and she goes by a different name. It's still the same character, but they're different people. And what kind of muddies it a little bit too, but is supposed to be helpful, is that like actors who are in the adult story appear in the other stories when she's younger with a different actor, and that's supposed to help you connect like the dots of everything, but it just kind of makes it more confusing because it feels like like, oh, we're in the past. Oh, but they look like they do in the future. So are we actually in the present time, or like what time are we at? But no, it's all the past. So I think that's kind of a lot of the detriment of this film, is that it just needed to be a bit more clear on what is happening. Putting that aside, looking at just the rest of the movie, it's fine. It's interesting enough. I think the story like the best was when she was a little kid, like 5 or 6 years old. There is a tragic thing that happens there and they're not explicit with it, which I think was the right choice. I don't know. There were also just like kind of story beats that made me kind of question the intention of the writer in like a are they sleazy type of way. I don't know. I got kind of weird vibes a couple times. So yeah, I thought the movie was fine. It was all right. Would I recommend it? I mean, if you really like Adele, which it's hard not to, she's great, then yeah, she's worth watching. But if you don't really know anyone in the movie, it's an easy skip. Like, it's fine. It's just not worth going out of your way to watch. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Love at First Fight sitting at number 86 in the quite-like section. And then after that is Heatwave sitting at number 92, also in the quite-like section. And then bringing up the rear is Orphan sitting at number 118 in the liked section. And this is out of a total of 159 old movies so far this year.